Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. This is your host, Hamdia Ahmed, and you're watching Muslim Network TV. Welcome back to another episode of Next Gen and today's discussion of elections and the Democratic Party, as well as reflecting on the DNC. You're watching us on Galaxy 19 satellite, MuslimNetwork.tv, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and soon on Apple TV as well. Now, 61 days until elections, the big day where we have Republicans and Democrats on their toes right now, both rooting for and encouraging their parties. But there's also people in the Democratic Party who aren't necessarily content with the diversity that's being claimed in the Democratic Party. They're saying that they're representing us all, but many Democrats aren't content with that. And in order to discuss the Democratic Party and how we can create a party that is progressive and inclusive for us all, we have with us Hamdia Ahmed, a 22-year-old social justice activist and a model. She grew up in a refugee camp and moved to the United States in 2005. Hamdia has worked alongside the United Nations in terms of advocating for refugees, and she's organized for refugees, immigrants, Muslims, and the Black Lives Matter movement. Thank you so much, Hamdia. I like to call her a fellow revolutionary. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Yeah, Hamdia, you have been extremely vocal about how you feel with the current state of the Democratic Party, and we will be getting into the details of that in a bit. But I want to talk about you and how you got involved and what inspired your involvement in politics and activism and speaking up.
So I grew up in a refugee camp and I came here when I was 7 years old. Politics has always been a part of my life growing up. So when I moved to the United States, I realized that we have a lot of issues in this country when it comes to racial equality and just minorities being treated unfairly. So that's what inspired me to become involved in politics.
And Hamdia, you are someone who does align with the left, who is a Democrat. But right now, in 2020, what do you think it means to be a leftist?
Well, I think in 2020, what it means to be a leftist is that you support Medicare for all, because there are a lot of Americans who don't have access to healthcare, and that's a really important issue that we need to talk about. What it means to be a leftist in 2020 is fighting for movements like the Black Lives Matter, because Black people are being hunted down in this country, and we have to talk about the fact that there is a real racism problem going on within this country. So I think that being a leftist just means being on the right side of history during times like this.
So, do you think that you talked about the Black Lives Matter movement? Is there enough voices in the Democratic Party who are not only doing lip service, but who are also implementing policy as well in terms of the BLM movement?
I don't think the Democratic Party has really supported the Black Lives Matter movement. I think there are a few politicians that have supported us throughout their work, but nothing has been really done. Like when it comes to policy making, I don't think they have supported us in that way. But they could definitely do a better job at supporting this movement, because it's really important. We are seeing racial inequality in this country, and that's something that the Democratic Party should be addressing.
And do you think that they're doing enough to create an inclusive environment? Because I know that they claim to do so. They claim to represent everyone, people from all backgrounds, refugees and immigrants and Muslims alike. But are they really doing that?
I do not think so. I don't think the Democratic Party is really creating an inclusive place. I think that we have policies right now that are still implemented, like the Muslim ban. They haven't really done much to remove that. We have Black people that are being brutalized every single day by the police. They're not implementing laws to like help to not to eradicate stuff like that, you know. So I don't think they're doing anything to really help minorities in this country, but they can definitely do a better job at that. if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does make sense, right? And how did we see that represented and play out in the DNC? I know you followed that very closely with the Democratic National Convention. You know, with this lack of diversity, how did that play out in the DNC? Because I'm sure it did.
The DNC did not have any Muslim speakers at the convention. That just shows that they are not realizing that we are also a part of democracy and that our community votes on policies. They also, I don't think they've recognized that we are affected by policies that were implemented by the Trump administration, like the Muslim ban. They should have a Muslim family be on that stage talking about their story of how the Muslim ban affected them. But they totally forgot about our community. And that just shows that they need to do a better job to include people in this party, because it's not looking great right now.
Yeah. And how can they do that, Hamdia? You talk about the fact that there's so much more work that needs to be done in terms of the Democratic Party, including all people. But what way should they take? What should they do?
I think that they should get to know different communities and why we even vote, because we don't just vote for a candidate because they care about one issue. We vote for a candidate because they may care about international policies that affect our communities. They have to know why we vote in order to build a relationship with the people from our community and to earn our votes.
And, you know, we're not seeing you said some Democratic candidates were doing that, but the mass majority of them are not. Tell us more about your work with the Black Lives Matter movement. I know you're an advocate for many people and for many of those identities that you hold close to yourself. But tell us about your work with the BLM movement.
So I have been doing a lot of protesting and just organizing to advocate for Black people in this country. It's like every day we wake up to a news of a Black person that was shot or murdered by the police. We have to say another person's name every single day. And I think that we have to address that we have a real problem with racism in this country, and that the police are literally terrorizing our community. And I'm tired of little Black girls losing their fathers to police brutality. It's just not okay. And people need to really be out here protesting with us to demand justice for all the Black men and women who have been brutalized by the police or murdered. Um, I think that the Black Lives Matter movement, it's doing a lot of great work to address racism in this country. And I think that there should be more politicians that are involved with this movement, because this movement, it's addressing a real issue that has been affecting this country for so long, that some people don't realize that it's the Black Lives Matter movement allowed a lot of Americans to realize that we have a real issue, and that's why so many new people are joining. So I'm doing whatever I can in my community to address systemic and institutional racism, and I hope other people can do that in their own community.
Yeah. And you said the response was that a lot of people are starting to recognize their privilege, but mainstream, right? Let's talk about, you live in Maine. How has the response from your community been like? I'm so curious to know, because you said there was a little bit of support with people kind of waking up, but I'm sure there was the other side to it too, Hamdia.
So I live in one of the whitest state in the country. So
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie, we have great supporters here, great white allies that are doing this work with us. But we do face those that do not like what we stand for. Just today, we had to deal with a lot of Trump supporters who are very hateful towards minorities, and because we are organizing for a protest this upcoming weekend, they just think that anytime there's a Black Lives Matter protest or rally, that somehow we're going out there and we're going to commit act of violence. That's not what we're about. We're all about peaceful protesting, and we want to get our message across. We want to participate in civil disobedience. And I'm sure that a lot of people don't know what that is, but civil disobedience is nonviolent protesting. We're not the real problem here. And that's what people fail to understand. There's literally white men who are white supremacists that are out here hunting us down. So they need to be addressing the racism that is rooted in this country.
I think that you hit the nail right with that people think that automatically when you're organizing that, it's automatically violent. And that goes back to their own racist way of thinking and their own ignorance. But Hamdia, how are you able to continue doing the work that you do? Just today, you were under fire, right? By Trump supporters. Your picture was all over their feed. You're getting a lot of attention from them. How do you continue doing the work you do even after all of that criticism? Doesn't it ever take a toll?
It's very hard, but alhamdulillah, I have amazing people by my side that make sure that I'm okay. And I always ask them for advice. And I'm only 22 years old. So of course, I have like a lot of learning to do, but I'm not afraid of anybody. That's what people need to know. Like, I'm out here doing whatever I can to change the world because we are dealing with a lot and we should all be out here contributing to making the world a better place. So I'm not worried about me. It's obviously hard, but we just have to keep it moving. We can't let them distract us.
And Hamdia, this is exactly why I call you a fellow revolutionary, because everything you do, everything you advocate for is so revolutionary and it's just so beautiful. And we'll continue to speak about the DNC, the Democratic Party, and how we can create a more inclusive environment, as well as the work that you do, Hamdia, right after our short break. You're watching us on Galaxy 19 Satellite, MuslimNetwork.tv, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and soon on Apple TV as well. We'll be right back.
My wife, she's a professor at the University of Cincinnati, who's Catholic, and by her watching and listening to our 3-year-old son watch Adam's World, she ended up taking Kalima Shahada. She embraced Islam because she learned so much about Islam and the other prophets. It really affected our life in a great way, and because of Sound Vision and Adam's World, we're Muslims.
I took my Shahada 15 years ago, and I actually am from a rural part of Ohio. And so I found the catalog for Sound Vision, and I ordered the tapes and the CDs and the books, and I used those, and especially for my little daughter, that's how we basically learned our Islam, and Islam entered our hearts through the wonderful works of Sound Vision.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. I just want you to know that I love the Sound Vision website, that a lot of times when I'm looking for information, especially as it relates to homelessness, domestic violence, and women issues, I go to that website, and then I see what you've written, and then I copy and paste it, and spread the word, because the wisdom is there, so I can't do any better than what Sound Vision has already done.
Sound Vision is our survival guide. It is the organization that provides skills for Muslims how to survive and thrive in this community here in the U.S.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Anam, I'm in 11th grade, and I grew up with Adam's World, and what it taught me was unity, respect, and love for the Muslim Ummah.
Adam's World is the greatest show ever made. Take me to the Kaaba, man. I love that puppet.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Welcome back to NextGen. I'm here with activist and fellow revolutionary Hamdia Ahmed. Now, Hamdia, you, before our break, told us about how you were just 22 years old and how you have a lot of learning still yet to do. But as a 22-year-old, as a young person, what is a message that you hope that the Democratic Party as a whole would listen to from the younger generation?
I hope that they can listen to what we have to say because we have a lot to offer. We are very woke in moments like this, and we care about issues like climate change, racial inequality. We want to fight for a better world where we can all live peacefully. So I think that they should definitely be listening to what we have to say because we are the change and we will create a lot of changes in this world. The Democrat Party also needs our votes. They forget that. You need millions of youths across this country. You need our votes. So you better be listening to us. That's all I have to say to them.
Exactly, I know. And I think that sometimes our votes are so underplayed. Even with Bernie, you know, a lot of the votes that they were anticipating was from young people, and that's kind of where we missed out. So totally agree with you that they have no choice but to listen to us, Hamdia. But we're talking about voting again. I want to bring it back to elections.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris. What does that mean for our country that Kamala Harris could potentially become vice president?
So Kamala Harris, the thing about her is that I support every Black woman that is doing great work, that wants to create change in the world. But Kamala Harris also has a history of being violent towards Black people. She advocated for mass incarceration. She put a lot of Black people in jail for petty crimes that white men and women are now getting away with. So I think that Kamala Harris has a lot of work to do because she was very hard on the Black community when she was a prosecutor. So I don't know, like, if I'm not excited for her to become a vice president just because of the things that she has done to the Black community. But I do want to say that I think it's important to have a Black woman in leadership. I think that I want to know, I'm excited to see what she does if she becomes the vice president, but I'm personally not supporting her just because of her previous record. I think that the Democrat Party, we deserve better than Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. So that's where I stand.
100%. I see where you're coming from. And you know, Hamdia, this is kind of funny, but I had a lot of people coming up to me and congratulating me because Hamdia, right? Kamala is half Indian, and they were congratulating me that and I was like, no, you know, and it was just so funny to me like the fact that so many people were coming up to me and doing that. But I want to know just your own perspective of what you think the future of the Democratic Party entails.
I can't tell. I can't tell. Like, I think that the Democrat Party has a lot of work to do. I hope that they're more inclusive and that they listen to the voices of young people. I hope that they will advocate for policy changing, like and join movements like the Black Lives Matter, and support us in our work for racial equality. But I think that the Democrat Party, what it's looking right now, some people are saying we need a different party, and I'm like now leaning towards that because the Democrat Party has been disappointing a lot of us lately. And we just feel like they don't see us and they don't see that we want things to get better in this country. A lot of us want universal health care. For a lot of Americans, we want student loan forgiveness. We want free education. Like we want wage increase. So I don't think they're hearing our messages. So I'm leaning towards maybe finding a new party that fits what we stand for. I don't know.
That's really interesting, honestly. I think that a lot of people will actually share your perspective as well, and we're seeing that increasingly, especially when Joe Biden, you know, picked Kamala Harris. A lot of people were like, "Really?" Like, it just showed kind of how much the Democratic Party is a lot about the face, but not the actions and policies of that candidate.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because we're literally out
But
here protesting against.
Hamdia, as a young person, why do you think it's so important for young? Yeah, go ahead. Why do you think it's so important for young people to get involved?
I think it's really important for people to get involved because that's the only way that we will be able to create a change in this country. If you just stay home and if you just stay silent, nothing is going to change. I think that when people say, "Oh, I'm not into politics," that's privilege within itself because people like that look like me and you, politics plays in our lives every single day. So to say that you're not involved in politics and you don't care, that's just a privilege that you have. But I do think that every American should be involved in politics and they should be out here protesting with us, fighting for justice and equality.
Yeah, some of our very existences, like you said, is political, right? Us just living and breathing and going about our daily life happens to be political, Hamdia. So I think you make a very good point there. But what is your advice to young people who, just like you, hope to get involved, hope to advocate for their communities, right? As a refugee, you came to this country, but you didn't just leave everything behind. You continue to advocate for your people, and that's powerful. So I think that people are very excited to hear your message to them.
So what I would tell young people is to never allow anyone to silence your voice. You have the power to create change and you have the power to be accomplish what you want to accomplish. Don't ever let nobody distract you and be out here, protest with us, fight with us, make calls with us, get involved in politics, get involved in organizations. You can create a lot of changes. Just don't sit at home and do nothing because nothing is going to change if you do that. But another message that I would also tell the youths is to not be afraid of anybody. Like, people want to intimidate you, but don't be afraid of them. Like, use your voice and don't let nobody bring you down. That's my advice.
100%. I think we have to keep pushing and keep fighting because there's a lot of work to be done. But to end on a note of encouragement, what is one thing from the Black Lives Matter movement, from all the advocacy that you do, that has inspired you, that has motivated you and kept you on your toes, kept you doing the work that you do, even after all of the criticism that you face? Just one piece of encouragement, something that could have been changed because of the work that you're doing or anything else.
So I think what inspires me the most is that I see so many people joining this movement to fight for Black people in this country. we literally, especially after the death of George Floyd, so many people in this country that have never even attended a Black Lives Matter protest are showing up. And that just inspires me. That just shows that people are really listening and seeing that we have a real problem. So just what inspires me is people coming together and fighting for justice and equality.
And hopefully we can continue that pursuit of justice and equality. And Hamdi, I want to thank you not only for being on our show, but for also all of the phenomenal work that you do, not only with your community, but so many of the things you do. Absolutely phenomenal to talk to you. And I hope that the trolls behind your back kind of settle down a bit, because I know they're pretty active these days. Thank you so much, Hamdia Ahmed, for being on our show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience for watching. And until next week, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.